Chapter 14. A Plot Against Erik's Life. If I remember correctly, Bob Dylan wrote a song in which he sang, "I like your smile and your fingertips. I like the way you move your lips. I like the cool way you look at me. Everything about you is bringing me misery." Dylan was a master poet who became a musician, but few remember that he grew up in a tiny Minnesota town called Hibbing. I knew, of course, because Hibbing was my hometown, and my mom went to high school with him. Even after Chuck's death, I couldn't fully appreciate the extraordinary wisdom in Dylan's words. After all, it was Chuck's death, not his life, that nearly caused the end in me. With Erik, it's far different. I now know the meaning of Dylan's words. It's one thing to peer over the edge into a pit of darkness and say, "Yes, I understand that's a lonely place." It is quite another thing to leap into the pit and truly know the darkness. By leaping into a relationship with Erik, there is no way back. Perhaps that's how I arranged it. There's no question. I'm very lonely at times, and I have no way of knowing how much more lonely my life is about to become. The news comes out of nowhere. On a day like any other, I receive a telephone call that ends with me sleeping on the floor. When I'm in real emotional pain, I move my pillow to the floor. I think it's my way of grounding myself. I don't really know why I do it. I just do it. I think the call is coming from Erik, but it's from Brian. When I hear his voice, I know something is wrong. The news is far worse than I could have imagined. There's been a plot against Erik's life. Somebody was going to stab him. Erik has been taken to the hole, pending investigation. The day is September 14, 1998. Erik has been called to the watch office. The lieutenant informs Erik that there has been a plot to kill him. For the next several hours, Erik sits in a small iron cage. He is stripped naked. With a flashlight, a guard examines his body. He is eventually given a white jumpsuit to wear. His property, what little is in his cell, is packed up in boxes and sent to a warehouse. Erik is removed from his job as a building porter. His worker status card is suspended. His privileges are canceled. He is placed in handcuffs, hands behind his back, and escorted through several security doors into the administrative segregation building. The isolation unit, affectionately known as the Hole, Erik is given a kit with a 2-inch yellow toothbrush, white tooth powder that turns pink when wet, a palm comb, and a bar of soap. He's taken to a high-security section with 20 cells in it. Prisoners stare out cell doors at the new arrival. The cell doors open. The cell is empty, bare, other than a thin blue-stripped cotton mattress that's over in the corner of a metal bunk. Erik steps inside. The room closes on him as the cell door slams shut. He bent down and slides his wrist out the tray slot, a 4-inch by 12-inch opening to the door. The handcuffs are removed. The tray slot is closed and locked. "But who was going to stab him?" I asked Brian, trying to keep my voice somewhere below frantic. "Who knows? That's the thing about prison. You can't be friends with everyone. You must take sides. There's always somebody upset at you." Erik tries to be diplomatic, but that's real-world stuff. It's not the language of prison. Erik has a hard time. But he never mentioned that anybody wanted to stab him. Tammy, he wouldn't even necessarily know about it. People are stabbed every day in prison. Most of the time, it's not fatal. As if that could ever comfort anyone. Visits for prisoners in the Hole are given by appointment only. The visitors and prisoners are separated by glass, and the visits last for 1.5 hours. The earliest available visit is 11 days away. In the blink of an eye, Erik is stripped from my life. I can't see or speak to him. Mail would take 2 weeks. In the span of hours, I have lost my best friend. Worse, I am horribly reminded of the brutal threats that prisoners face every day. I couldn't handle Erik being stabbed. I would fall apart. How hard will this life become? Suddenly depressed, I decide to throw a pity party with myself. That night, I fall asleep with Talia, cradled in my arms. I pray, silently asking God not to let any harm come to Erik. Somehow, I plead, please keep him safe. How do wives of prisoners or soldiers cope with these threats year after year? Anxiety rose through me. I closed my eyes, eager to release my mind from the cruelty of this world for just a little while. I arrive early for my appointment to visit Erik. I'm assigned to one of the booths at the front of the visiting room. I'm told Erik will soon be escorted up to see me. I can only imagine how stressed Erik is right now. He's been in the hole for 11 days. He's probably terrified. I know I'd be if somebody was out to stab me. I vow to remain strong for him. The last thing he needs is to be worrying about me. He'll need me calm in order to calm him. 20 minutes later, I see Erik escorted into the booth on the other side of the glass. He's handcuffed and wearing a white jumpsuit. His hair has been shaved to a military cut, almost to his scalp. The door is shut behind him. He squats and sticks his arms out of a small slot. The handcuffs are unlocked and removed by the guard. The starkness of seeing him in a jumpsuit and in handcuffs turns my stomach. Bright red grooves are etched into his wrist. He quickly snatches up the telephone. A huge smile immediately warms his face. I lifted the receiver to my end. He says, "Did you miss me? I've missed you so, so much." "Erik, I'm so worried. I don't know what's going on with you." "I'll tell you everything I know, but first I want to discuss the important stuff." "What important stuff?" "Let's start with how much you've missed me." "I miss you every minute, Erik. Now let's talk about who was going to stab." "Come closer," he says. "What?" "Only glass separates us." He stares into me and says softly, "Being away from you is the hardest thing I've ever been forced to do. Now tell me how much you love me." A shy smile reddens my face. He really has no idea how much I love him. Here he is in the hole, and all he wants to do is talk about us. I tell him, "I love you, Erik, more than you'll ever know. Now tell me what's going on." He presses the palm of his hand against the glass. I press my palm over his. My resistance is weakening. "How can you smile at a time like this?" "Because it's been 11 days in hell without you, and now I have you with me again. That's all I want. I'm safe. No one's going to hurt me. Tell me what you have been doing, and then I'll tell you everything I know." I don't know how Erik is able to forage for love under such frightening circumstances, but that's the way he is. I've come to accept that Erik's brutal childhood, his 6 years in one of the roughest American jails, and his 2 trials so far exceeded the normal human threshold for pain that events most people consider traumatizing are for him manageable experiences. The one thing he most lacked in his life has been unconditional, non-threatening love. And so it is no surprise that he is more concerned with the state of his relationship than the threats on his life. In a way, the adversity his parents inflicted upon him prepared him for living among the prison population. He learned early on how to cope with violence in his home. People actually believe Erik lived a pampered life. Financially, his family was in the upper 1% of the social strata. His family's wealth emanated power. Yet that same power isolated him and kept the dark secrets shielded from public scrutiny. Ultimately, he settles down and tells me everything he knows about the situation, which is very little. He hasn't been interviewed, and he insists that he doesn't know of anyone who was plotting to attack him. He hopes the investigation wraps up quickly because our wedding date is 3 weeks away. Sadly, Erik will experience the agony of isolation for what amounts to several years of his life behind bars. I hope and believe that our relationship and our communication when he is away from isolation sustains him during the extended periods alone. But I will never fully know the depths of his punishment, and neither will the rest of the world. Unfortunately, few people are concerned with the further damage done to a person while in prison. It isn't really a concern for the rest of us until the prisoner is released back into society, shopping in our supermarkets and malls, and eating dinner at the table next to us. At that point, it matters to us, but of course, at that point, it's too late. I've come to realize that sooner or later, how a person is handled in prison affects all of us. The damage we inflict to satisfy vengeance returns to visit us in ways we never expect. While in isolation, Erik receives 10 hours a week of exercise on a concrete yard and 3 showers. Otherwise, he does not leave his cell. To pass the time, he reads, writes letters, and teaches himself to draw. He has a surprising innate talent for art. I encourage him to nurture this gift and to draw more pictures for me. I hope it will help him pass the time. After 6 weeks, Erik, who has always been lean, has lost 20 pounds. The details of the plot against him are never fully disclosed to us. We are told there were nearly 24 people involved, but even the names are kept from Erik. Just as ridiculous as the secrecy are the apparent reasons for the plot. It began when some of Erik's property had been stolen. Nothing major, just tennis shoes and a typewriter. In his attempt to uncover who was responsible for the theft, some rifts had been caused between those friendly to Erik and those who were not. The end result was a plot against his life. It didn't hurt that Erik was famous, and anyone responsible for his death would undoubtedly rise the ranks of the prison gang leadership, all the way to the top. But this fact didn't make the plot any less senseless to me. With his release from isolation, the situation makes me nervous, but in the end, Erik is eager to get out of the hole, and after watching him deteriorate mentally and physically, I understand his need to go back to the general population. The threats to his life, which intensify at times, are an ever-present concern for Erik. Before he is released from the hole, an interesting thing happens. The administration announces that 1/3 of the facility's population will be transferred to another prison. Apparently, the Folsom prison is downsizing. Inmates aren't told why the decision has been made. They just know that massive transfers are about to occur. Lists of prisoners who have been selected to go to committee hearings are posted. Committee hearings are meetings at which prisoners are informed whether they've been recommended for transfer. Erik's name is on the list, so is Brian's. While Erik is in the hole, Brian is transferred to a prison 300 miles to the south. Once again, Erik has lost someone close to him. Sadly, he will not see his friend again. In light of the investigation, Erik is removed from the list. The prisoners involved in the plot against him are transferred instead. All told, there are more than 24 transfers related to Erik's case. The sheer number of inmates involved in the plot is a reminder that nothing can be taken for granted with Erik. He is sentenced to life in prison, but his sentence cannot dictate how long that life will last, any more than it can predict the how or why of his death. I realize I have to appreciate and savor every moment with Erik. I resolve to get started right away.